Once again, it is time for a 3 breakdown edition of You Comment, We Respond. All right, so exciting. Starting with High Roller Insanity. Sounds pretty crazy. Click right up there to check out that video. It features Olashemian and Vanessa Selps, so you can't go wrong watching it again.
No, it's a great hand.
Yeah,
for
it's
sure.
a great hand.
You do make it sound crazy with that Jim Carrey-like
Yeah,
tone.
I'm doing a thing.
Yeah, you are doing a thing.
It's a good thing.
Is it a good thing? It's a thing.
Tag your tweets.
All right. Crazy High Roller Insanity. Here we go. Osef Kincaid says, this was at a time where Olashemian was really into bluffing capped ranges. Vanessa Selps said that before this final table, she saw a final table by Ola where he did multi-street bluffs against people every time they had capped ranges, and it worked every time. So he had a lot of confidence in the play. This is why Vanessa plays the hand this way. She wants Ola to think her range is capped to 10x, since he's supposed to bet the flop with better hands, so that he starts spewing into the pot and she can snap him as she does here. The analysis is wrong. Ola thinks Vanessa cannot have better than 10x, which is why he does this. At no point does he think she can have extreme strength here. It's also not a balanced play by her. It's an exploit.
Well,
I'm super into this comment.
I definitely agree with that. I don't know where our analysis was wrong, though. I kind of think we hit on most of those points. We didn't know the history of it, but...
I mean, we weren't sure why Ola was always doing the things he was doing. And if you watch the hand with this in mind, you can see it play out.
Right.
Where Ola calls the raise, and we talked about him doing it for this reason, by the way. So he's either going to shove the river or make a big bet on the river if a third heart comes because he has the nut flush blocker, and he'd be afraid Vanessa's going to check trip 10s back.
Yeah.
Or he can check raise all in because he's got enough chips effectively to do that. And so either way, though, he's attacking her capped range. And we didn't, while we talked about it a little bit, we didn't say that was like the theme of what was going on, or for sure that's what was up.
I mean, it seemed like that had to be part of it, but it's really cool to know that historically that's actually what was happening.
And you can see why, based on the way people play, even the way we talk about what you should be folding and what you shouldn't be, when people raise the river and stuff, how Ola could absolutely destroy players by doing that until they adjust.
Yeah, especially showing up with weird hands like this where he's not supposed to ever have this hand. Like if he's going to be bluffing here, it's because he had some sort of equity earlier, and in this case he kind of really didn't.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
Really cool.
Yeah.
Thanks, Osef, for that.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, Nick Dashanu says, what does Ola do if the river is an ace? Remember, he had ace-8.
Yeah.
Nothing changes really in terms of Vanessa's value range other than queen, jack of hearts gets there. So in theory, it's the same as a brick, but if he isn't calling on that river, does he just not have a calling range here? It's a good question.
With this exact hand, he probably doesn't have a calling range here because he was never playing it for the value of the hand. He was always playing it to set up this play.
Yeah. But it is weird to suddenly make top pair, and you do have suddenly showdown value.
But what is Vanessa going to bet that, I mean...
No, I hear you. Like, if she's bluffing, you got to beat it anyway, and if she isn't bluffing and you think you can fold out her entire range, we should move in, because then we always win instead of only win sometimes.
Right, so I don't think he should be calling with this hand if he plays this hand this way. Right. Certainly you should usually have a calling range, but there are some spots where it doesn't make much sense. This would be one of them.
Yeah.
We did say maybe Vanessa would play hyper-exploitively and raise a king against him, just a lone king. We got to that conclusion as a possibility, but she would never bet that on the river if the river was an ace.
In Ola's mind, if he can fold out all better anyway, her entire better value range, then moving in makes all the sense in the world. It doesn't it's just lucky we happen to have an ace, I guess. It doesn't matter that we have an ace.
Cool question, though.
Next up, we have one of my favorite titled videos that we've ever made, No Darvin Moon, No. And if
Don't do it, Darvin. Maybe he still won't do it.
I mean,
do you think there's still a chance?
There's a chance he can learn from the last time and not do it this time. If you haven't seen the video, want to refresh or whatever it may be, you know what to do. There, back here, here we go. Let's do this. Pedro Almeida says, no way Gordon Veo calls an all-in with Jack-9 on a paired board. He wouldn't call Ghostbusters if he was starring in Poltergeist. He also wouldn't call his mother for Christmas if long-distance charges applied.
Well, we do like us some good Veo burns.
I love it.
Thank you, Pedro. And we know you're frequently tweeting at us and commenting on the videos, and that's awesome. So thanks, Pedro. And those are some pretty funny things.
No, the Ghostbusters line is amazing.
Yeah. Also, he might be right that Gordon Veo would fold here. Gordon Veo would be like, I think I could find a better spot.
Yeah, Gordon Veo would tank for between 7 and 10 minutes for sure, but he really might have folded.
He might even put Darvin Moon on 7-8 and say, I think I could still find a better spot.
I mean, in fairness, like it's a really different spot than the Qui-win spots. Like Gordon Veo probably calls, right? I think all good players probably call. I
think Gordon Veo probably calls here, but I was surprised by a lot of the things Gordon Veo did. So
it's true.
Who knows?
We didn't think it was possible to call the turn and then fold the river with the 9s that time. So anyway, not Joe Cato's 9, Gordon Veo's 9. All right, JustinA says this. I'm not a fan of the call by Cata.
Okay.
Assume for a moment that Moon does have a 10. What's his line going to be? He likely checks flop looking to check raise and continue his aggressive style, especially if he has ace 10 or king 10. I agree with that.
Sure.
When the turn is another 10, why would he suddenly lead with trip 10s? Kata looks weak after his check back on the flop, so leading turn probably doesn't get Moon paid. So Moon checks the turn, and when Joe finally bets, he goes for max value with his 10. The massive sizing is weird for sure, and I guess I don't recall if Moon was also doing that with nutted hands to balance. He wasn't. The other reason I don't like it is because of how bad it would have looked for Joe to call it off drawing dead against an amateur when he can wait for way better spots to play a pot that big. Props to Joe for making his read and sticking to it, but I think it's just fine to let Moon bluff him and wait for a better spot since he still has 50 blinds.
Couple things. I think this is a perfectly good spot. I really do, because I really, like you referred to balance. I don't believe Darvin Moon was balanced at all in this way.
Not even close.
And I do think he would bet a 10 on the turn a lot of the time. I mean, most players would. You got to try to build some value. Sometimes you wouldn't, sure. It's possible that you wouldn't. But the real crux of it is the check shove for a billion chips.
Right.
I mean, you want action, right? Darvin Moon is not doing this in a balanced way. He's doing this in what he thinks is an exploitive way, but it's really an exploitable way.
Exactly. I mean, there are other comments too saying like, see, it would have worked though. So he can show up with a 10 there. Even if once in a while he would actually play a 10 like this, which I don't think he would. I think he would raise to a normal amount like we'd seen him raising other times when he had a good hand. But even if sometimes he would, he certainly wouldn't always play a 10 this way. And he's going to play almost all his bluffs this way, as we see.
Right.
So it makes it just a fairly transparent thing. Joe actually doesn't have to be right all the time, just some of the time. And he's going to be right most of the time for sure when he calls here.
Right, and I don't think he's worried too much about what it looks like when he calls off.
No,
I think it makes sense to call off, and most people can see that, I think.
Yeah.
So maybe most people wouldn't, because people are results oriented when it comes to poker.
It's true.
So maybe there's a little bit of lost life equity there if somehow he's wrong, but he's just really not wrong very often because Darvin did all of these different things that make you think, okay, he just doesn't have a 10.
I mean, if Qui Win had a 10 and Gordon Vail folded a 9 on the river, instead of making fun of him all the time, we'd be, maybe he would have won the World Series, and actually he would have lost anyway now that I think about it. But we wouldn't talk about him the way we do. We wouldn't have that image of him as a robot holding a flower, So just, maybe it'd be different.
The ultimate breakdown, I learned my lesson. The ultimate breakdown that we're going to talk about on this You Comment, You Respond is weird spot for Daniel Negreanu. It was a weird spot for Daniel Negreanu, and it was a weird hand against Johnny Chan. Click right up there. Come back here. Here are the comments.
All the things.
Yeah.
JerryOSullivan says, why wouldn't Chan 3-bet any of his range to Daniel's flop raise? So he wouldn't 3-bet sets.
He's asking he wouldn't 3-bet sets?
Yes. I think he's sort of challenging, not just asking.
We just think Johnny Chan specifically is not 3-betting very much here. And I kind of think it's a bad play to 3-bet any overpair.
Yes.
And because of that, it makes it kind of hard to 3-bet your sets as well because it becomes a little bit transparent.
Let's say Johnny is 3-betting his sets, though. There's just not that many times he's going to have a set on this board when he opens. I know it's 6-handed, but under the gun.
Yeah.
So it's just a rare thing. And so once in a while, if he 3-bets his sets and we have to fold as Daniel, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, that makes sense.
By the way, if he doesn't 3-bet very big, we can call and still try and realize our equity, our straight equity.
Yeah. And I think the main point here is even if Johnny is 3-betting sets, he very rarely has sets.
Right.
So it doesn't really change the point.
Right. He has many, many more combinations of overpairs and things like that, ace-5 apparently as well, that Daniel can absolutely take advantage of, and Daniel does.
Right.
So what Daniel's play doesn't have to work all the time on the flop. It just has to work most of the time, and we really think it will.
Yeah.
All right, next up, Erik Weber. And by the way, in parentheses after Erik Weber, it says zero cool.
Zero cool.
Which is cool.
That's exactly what he's going for, I think.
He pulled it off, man. He says, Johnny just plays way too nitty. I remember seeing a hand where he folded to a 4-bet pre-flop in a limit game to some amateur named Mike that looks suspiciously like Matt Damon. And Eric Smythe 14 responds, Eric Smythe 14 says, did he have it though? I don't know. I can't remember.
That's a pretty good comment.
Not bad.
We might do some rounders hands at some point, by the way.
Yeah, we're talking about it.
Yeah.
I will say this, not to get super nitpicky, but it wasn't pre-flop. It was on the flop when Johnny folded.
Was it?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
It was on the flop.
Anyway, Mike McD sat in that limit game with 10 big bets.
What was he doing?
Do they even let you do that? I don't know.
Sometimes they let you do one short buy.
Yeah.
But come on, Mike McD did a lot of bad poker things, and we may have to take him down at some point.
Mike McD, we're on to you, buddy.
Sorry, Brian Koppelman.